Hey everybody, how you doing today on this Wednesday? How are you? To all my internet friends, buddies, sisters, brothers, all of that. How y'all doing out there? Y'all, it's gonna be an interesting topic today. Somebody reached out to me and decided this would be a different route to go, considering who's on the I don't know, what do you want to call it? The crucifixion, the crucifix of public media right now, but public social media right now, whatever. So that's what we're going to talk about. I'm Marissa Alexander. This is Thinking Out Loud, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. But I really would like to hear from you guys on what you think, because I'm going to be going over a few things that we don't really talk about. I have really been really dumbfounded by some of the stuff I've seen. I don't know if it's dumbfounded. I don't even know if I'm surprised. I just want to know, do we ever challenge our thinking? Because I have to do it for myself as well. So we're going to really just talk about, this double standard. It exists. It's a double standard. And let me just say this. I think it goes without saying, but I'm going to do it anyway. Listen, nobody wants to be cheated on. Nobody wants to be, some people don't mind being cheaters. But it's just not a good pattern of behavior or way to treat people. I think it definitely is going to challenge who you are as a person at the core, your integrity, your values, your principles. And while I say it's not something that, you can definitely overcome it. The shortcomings and all that other, great stuff we like to talk about in our tied humanity when we make mistakes. That all applies here. We're gonna get that out of the way. We ain't gonna spend no time in that area because this is, I think that's, it's a given. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm kind of neutral on giving it a hard line, with the exception of one thing, and I'll get into that. So make sure that you tell me what you think about some of the stuff, because we're gonna get into it. It is essentially, again, like I said, the double standard that exists, and I don't know if it's gonna ever go away anytime soon. Probably not. I don't know that I even care that it doesn't go away, but I think it's definitely something to speak about and acknowledge. So, hey, y'all, what's going on? Thank you. Thank you. We tried a little something different today. I don't like doing my hair, so this is what we at. What's up with y'all? All right. So first thing first. Y'all tell me how you feel, because listen, I have spoken to a lot of men about this cheating thing, and I think that, okay, let's say this, 90% of people in the United States, I didn't go, abroad, don't condone or agree with cheating. All right. Okay. 90%. So the other 10% probably on some, several other things that got going on. There's a sanctioned affair, which basically just means that, they agree to have company or, multiple partners. But so that would maybe be the other 10%, but 90% don't agree with it. But check this out, 30 or 40% people actually do it. And I'm not laughing because I think it's funny. I just, it's just one of those things that we don't really get real about. So let me just put this out there. Have I been cheated on? I have. Have I cheated? I have. I would not consider myself a cheater, but I have. And I just want to say that I that is not something that I'm proud of. I don't say that like, hey, that's me. Salute. It ain't even like that. It's just that, I want to be transparent, I'm not really, I don't know that I care that anybody calls me out on it, because I'm telling you that I did it, and I know differently than when I did do it, how that was and what was going on with me. And I don't believe that once a cheater is always a cheater, although that is the saying. So what's going on? So it's one. Okay, so they consider a mistake is like an accident. Oops, my bad, mistake. Cheating and lying are not mistakes. They are intentional. And they're intentional choices. And cheaters will hide them, and they only become a mistake truly when they're caught. And I mean, yeah, you know, you can say how you want to say about it. I will tell you this, how I feel about it. I don't believe that okay, we've given like different reasons why people, because I remember a particular person on social media asked one time, they were like, you know, why do so and so cheat? Why do women cheat? Why do men cheat? And so, you know, people gave a litany of reasons, and there's a lot of nuances, there's a lot of context, and I mean, I get it, but I just feel like this right here, personally. We let me just speak for myself. How about that? I'm mature enough to do that at this point, to just tell you when I cheated because that's what I wanted to do. Did I set out to just cheat? No. But what happened is I made the choice. That's what I was going to do. And then I used whatever reason to justify my act. And so what I mean by that is there were things that maybe had, you know, presented themselves in the relationship, but the conscious choice to decide not to either work through it, one, or continue to work through it and not be satisfied, two, or deciding to have my cake and eat it too, and go and have something on the side and do that choice. And or the other thing is, once I tried to work through it and it didn't necessarily work out, I decided, well, I'm not going to continue to cheat, or I'm not going to cheat. I'm gonna go ahead and exit. But the truth of the matter is, people cheat because that's what they want to do. And then whatever, you know, foothold we give the devil, if you're into that, then that's just going to be the reason why you justify it. So that's how I feel about that. I don't believe it's on the other person. You know, they caused, they didn't, they did. It could have been voids and other things and all that other stuff. But ultimately, when we cheat, as a cheater, you cheat because you want to. And you're going to use every other reason to justify it in terms of the other person's shortcoming or whatever the case may be, but you did what you did because it's what you wanted to do. And I think it's just easier to get to a point where when we deal with that, and we just like cut straight to the chase. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I want to do. And I got to go work on me or figure it out. Or I don't really want to work on me. This is kind of what I want to do. That's your choice too. But, you know, ain't no need to, you got to get to the bare bones truth about that sometimes. So that. So let's talk about that double standard, y'all. The double standard. So I was wondering, because I was reading all kinds of stuff out there, and it was like, oh, you know, they don't keep themselves up, and when this person is, you know, not there anymore, and we, you know, they're not having sex and all this other jazz. Okay, all right, okay. And so when it comes to traditionally, you know, women tend to, okay, listen, outside of Will and Jada, that was the first time we ever seen a man come next to his woman, and he wasn't even sitting next to her initially, and have this conversation about an entanglement. Okay, but mostly, I mean, and to me, he was very courageous and brave, and so was she to do it. But most of the time, y'all memed him to death. I don't think he gonna ever live that down. But it's the truth. So, you know, men are typically not going to handle that in the way that women do, or, you know, sit by the side, hold hands, stand next to all that. And so I was wondering, like, well, what are some of the reasons why for men, a lot of men, it's a deal breaker. And then I got to thinking about, well, what about the whole do unto others as you want them to do unto you? Does that go out the window because the man cheat? Like, that don't matter? Or how about treating people how you want to be treated? You know, that kind of stuff. But, you know, again, I understand those things are complicated, or complex. So I'm not here to get into that. I'm just going to tell you about some of the stuff that I found as to why men can't handle being cheated on and why the double standard exists. So you tell me if I'm wrong, right? Agree or disagree. So first one is men can forgive themselves for their own indiscretions, but they cannot forgive their partners once for the same thing. Tell me what you think about that. Okay. For a betrayed woman, an affair is an offense against her dignity. For a betrayed man, it's an offense against his manhood. It goes right to the core of his identity. Just bust your chest wide open, huh? Talk to me about that. The golden rule, right? Exactly. So you want to dish it? We don't want to take it, huh? This is 2021, and I'm not justifying it, high-fiving it, or condoning it. I mean, but really, we're gonna need to have these conversations because what do you tell your sons? What do we tell our daughters, girl? Let me tell you. Stop wearing that bonnet in the house. I mean, he ain't gonna step out. If you just go to the gym, he's gonna stop. We ain't never told a man that. He can sit up, play video games all day long, smelling like cigarettes and just sweaty scrotum, and ain't nobody ever gonna go and be like, well, man, you gotta wash. You know what I'm saying? Have you ever heard that as an excuse? Have you ever heard, hey man, you just gotta, you gotta get up and just take the trash out, man, and put on some cologne? Or how about, that beer gut you got, you need to go ahead and try to work towards a 6-pack. Have you ever heard a woman saying that? Have we ever used that as a justification for a woman cheat? Come on, y'all. I'm just asking. I'm not saying it's right. I know the rules. My mom was the same. She didn't say those type of things, but my whole thing is I'm gonna keep myself up because that's what I want to do. It's important for me to feel good about myself. So when I look good, I feel good, and when I feel good, I can kind of go on about how I present myself and be optimistic and happy and joy. And it's not just centered about the way I look, but it does help me kind of feel better about myself, right? But that's a choice I'm gonna make outside of it, somebody else. But I just think to even use that as even an inkling of that. And I hear when I hear people, I've read a lot of it today, and I understand what we're trying to say, but I also agree, or I also can see this a double standard, and we just don't say stuff like that about men. You know what I mean? I don't know. Do we say, well, you're gonna have to, I'm gonna cheat on you if you ain't got a job? It's possible. Maybe that's a standard I don't know about. Y'all talk to me. Well, look at here. No, Sylvia says never. It's true. Let's see. For men, the sexual component of the wife's affair is very important. They are more concerned about the sexual aspect than if their wife loved the man she slept with. I heard it said to me recently, like you men can't even fathom the thought of the person that you hold so sacred and that you have access to, yours, quote unquote, almost like property. I mean, this is some of the stuff I read, that somebody was in your house. Somebody was in your house, so that means you didn't keep your house secure. You wasn't taking care of that, and so it's a pit. It's a dig at your ability in very many ways emasculating, and it's just something that you can't deal with. So to know that somebody was intimate in the way that you probably been intimate with other people if you're a cheater, or the stuff men talk about other women, because y'all locker room boys will be boys talk, and then you got to sit there and be actually being like, because that's the only thing you probably think about, like, what did he have her? Yeah, we're gonna keep it a buck in 2021. That's what we're gonna do. I'm just telling you what it is. I'm not saying I agree or disagree. I'm kind of neutral, but we're gonna have conversations about it. Because my whole thing is, maybe women don't necessarily look at it like, well, did he have her? It's more or less, what, did you love her? Like, it was the emotional thing. It's a little bit different. And I guess we wired different, we just wired different. But I'm just saying, just something to think about. Not my words, just some research. Infidelity is seen as the highest form of disrespect. This is men who have been cheated on by some men, and they will never recover from such a blow. And he, if a man, in fact, does forgive the woman, he believes that he will be seen as weak, especially by other men. So what essentially that was said was that women have a support group. Like when women, because we're emotional beings to that degree, we nurturers and things like that. So when those things take place, we can go and get support. We don't necessarily hold on to it. I know some people do, but what I'm saying is, as a general thing, we don't necessarily, we have support we can go to. We can go be emotional. We can go cry. We can go get, you know what I mean? How many of y'all men can you tell me? I literally like, yeah, man, man, she cheated on me. And because more than likely, you ain't gonna be able to break down in front of me. I mean, I wish you would. I mean, I wish you could, because I think just because you're mean don't mean you don't have feelings and emotion. You know what I mean? And it hurts and you're angry and you all these other things. And is, it's unfortunate because they call it the man box. You kind of have to stuff it in there and you kind of live with it for years. That's why some people haven't dated or whatever, or gotten over being, having trust issues because of that cheating that took place. But men tend to don't go and have other support to talk to with other men and confide in them and have somebody be like, man, it's going to be all right, pat them on the back. And if they do, I don't know that they really feel that they could do that because it's going to, again, be seen as a lack on their part. And that's just too much for your egos. I don't know. You tell me. I'm not a man. Like you can't go on a corner and do that. Like maybe you can get drinks at a bar. Y'all do that? Do y'all go to the bar with each other? You probably can't, because if you get out there and your chest just, you know what I'm saying? Like your heart is bust wide open, you might actually cry. So that's just something you guys don't do in public, huh? I don't know. I'm just asking. Let me tell you about this one story, y'all. So this was a guy that he had, he cheated. That's just what he did for a while. And he was married. And he got to the point where he believed that because he was making sure that came Friday, the money for the bills or whatever it was on the nightstand, hey, I was cheating, but I made sure that I put that money on the nightstand. He was married. And I was so blown away. You know what I mean? That was his experience. But I was really like, oh, okay. So let's reverse that. So she like, yo, all right. So come Friday, there's food in microwave for you. The house is clean. I'll be out. Does it work like that? I'm just asking. Y'all tell me. Does it work like that? I just want to know. All right, let me read what Deshaun says. Deshaun says it's Deshaun. Excuse me. It's just something that burns to a man's core, knowing that your woman was out getting freaky with another man, especially if he thinks that his woman wouldn't step out on him. Yeah, I agree. And I find it is even more difficult for some men to swallow, especially the ones who actually do it on a regular basis. I hear you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. My high school mate grew up with him, Mr. Woods, Leroy Woods. A lot of these questions should be had on a panel with men and women. Great discussion pieces. I agree. I think it would probably be one of those things where it should be individual and then we put them together. Because I would love to see how people answer when they're in the room or in the company of the same sex versus once they get out there, because these dynamics are very different. And honestly, let's just be honest. If you all attend churches, it'd be good conversation to have, and in some kind of way put in the word, because it can be done. But we don't do that. We just be like, nah, don't cheat. Because it is. I mean, I get it. But when we gonna really start talking about how to make the word applicable and be honest about what we're feeling and what we're experiencing and what we're being tempted with, and getting with other fellas and being like, let me tell you, if it were not for the Holy Ghost or whoever it is you deal with that kept you from doing it, we don't do that. You know what I mean? Like, it's a whole after the fact thing. And then, people are kind of like, yeah, okay. It would be nice. It'd be nice for the Cornerstone to actually start that. But I'm with you, Leroy. Let's see here. Thank you, Leroy. Leon, I think it's more that the man feels the woman is tainted. You know what? Let me just do a little math with you about that tainted. I hear you. But just say, let me give myself as an example. I have 3 kids. I have had 2 pregnancies where I, went full term and delivered. 9 months. Okay. And so for at least 9 months of those years, I was kind of off the market and included to some, degree marriage and everything. Do you know how much mileage some of y'all got? I watched the show on Iyanla, and the man had been cheating on his wife. And he said he was 34 at the time of the interview. You know how many women he had slept with? Guess. Yes. 341 women outside of his wife. That's tainted. Just saying. Thank you, Leroy. I get my cash out though. Hey. Listen, so let's go to the next one. When the tables turn and she decides to cheat, it is devastating to know that another man has been intimate with your woman. We've been saying that. The one you hold close to your heart. Is it any less different from a woman, though? I think that's the thing. We have this social conditioning and this psychological conditioning that somehow, that we don't feel that way about the men that we give our hearts to, and we're vulnerable, because it's supposed to be both ways, right? And so, one of the things I hear a lot of conversation, let me just divert a little bit, is a lot about submission. And I told somebody that I've posted this before and I responded, submission is not about control and domination. Submission is about trust. And it's highly unlikely that somebody is going to be submissive without trust unless they're being made to do it. And that's more like a slave. That ain't about trust. You understand what I'm saying? That's just my thoughts. That's just my thoughts on what I be thinking. One person said that men are actually emotionally weaker than women. I don't know that this to be true, but men are egotistic. And we believe that women should not cheat or leave us, even if we're not satisfying them. Do y'all feel that way? I mean, if you feel that way, maybe it's like one of them unwritten things. Maybe it's not something you actually say out loud. Tell me what you think. Yeah, right. 340. Shantoria Lowe says church people don't believe in transparency. They always sweeping stuff under the rug when married people still need to hear the real issue. Hey, let me tell you something. Let me say it. I know my ministry, and I don't believe my ministry is in that. But if it was, I don't even know what my church would be like. Transparency Tabernacle. Because we gonna keep it a buck in there today. People out here dying. That's why people hiding. We hide our stuff. We can't even deal with it because we don't want to be condemned and ashamed. We're gonna feel guilt. We hide it. We can't even deal with it and get some healing because we're too busy hiding it. I'm just saying. So as I mentioned earlier, I don't think you cheat because anybody calls you to do anything they didn't do. That's what you wanted to do. And that's how I feel. But they said there's individual risk that will make somebody more likely to actually be someone who cheats. So it's an individual thing. So if the person does cheat, then there's issues that they have to deal with on their own. And here's just a few of the things that they mentioned about the individuals who cheat and what's going on with them. Okay. So some of the things were like substance abuse, addiction, gambling, drugs, alcohol, shopping, sex, all kinds of stuff. Addiction is addiction. Another thing is, thank you, is an attachment style. So there is basically when they date, and I am not a psychologist, but let me tell you what I understand about attachment style. So it's like your relationships when you grow up in like in the interpersonal relationships, and those specifically with the parents and the child. So depending on if there was abandonment, neglect, or some issue with the intimacy, or not really intimacy, but the attachment, that some people either mimic those in their relationships with the other, with the sex when they move on. I'm gonna give you an example. So when a woman typically has not been in the home with a father, there's some level of void that takes place. And that relationship with men, and not all the time, but oftentimes it can be a bit confusing for women as they get older and they're looking for men because they really don't know what they're looking for. And sometimes they end up attracting an attachment style, either what they witnessed or or somebody who's emotionally unavailable, or somebody who's more likely to leave because that's kind of what they witnessed. You know what I'm saying? So it's some of those type of things. And just being the intimacy thing. I have to do a lot of people who are religious, if you will, and they're really shameful about that and showing, affection and different things like that. And they have issues and they're kind of cold and don't know how to, be warm and that kind of thing. And if that isn't something that you grew up seeing, maybe that's something you struggle with. So that was just one of the other things. So it can cause some insecurities and people to have some self-esteem issues and, value, lack of value of themselves, self-value. Childhood trauma, and including history of childhood trauma or physical, sexual, emotional, or neglect, emotional abuse and neglect. That's difficult. Because what I find is that when that takes place, they, again, could cheat, but it become promiscuous as well. And it's very difficult, not impossible. We can work through it. I am one who has experienced that. Yeah. I believe it did. I will say this. Oh, I can't believe I'm telling y'all this, but I'm transparent. That earlyhood trauma of molestation did affect my relationship with men. I did not know it at the time, but through years of healing and different things, I can tell you that I'm very aware of that and how I have to work through that. So that's my truth. Exposure to infidelity in a childhood. So if that's something you grew up seeing. So all these parents, they take their kids with them when they actually go and cheat and think they don't know what's going on. They do. Don't do that. There's a study that says they're twice as likely to do it if they witnessed the infidelity as a child with their parents. That's what they say. Just previous cheating. Somebody who has a habit of cheating in relationships, like any and all relationships, for whatever reason. Like I said, that old saying that once a cheater, always a cheater. And I think that can be true if we don't work on what is the issue, like what's going on with me that I can't seem to, want to be settled down, or at least be honest about not settling down and don't cheat, or, just, you know what I mean? Like you got to work that through. And sometimes people aren't ready to really work that through. It's sometimes that level of having to dig deep is just hard to do, and it's ongoing. And sometimes you need a little help with that. And therapy is a good thing for that. Just my thoughts. And then psychological issues, mental issues, more so psychological, like, let's see, for women, they call it neuroticism, and for men, they call it narcissism. So these people tend to, are driven by their egos. They have a sense of entitlement. A lot of the times, obviously, they're very self-centered. They lack empathy, and so they don't necessarily care what anybody feels anyway. So if there's a psychological issue and a predisposition to be someone who is struggling with that, the likelihood of them being someone who continues to cheat that's going to be the case. And so if you don't care about anybody else and you don't think anybody else's feelings matter, and you just, hey, it's all about me, then you're not necessarily going to care how the things that you do impact your partner, because that's essentially what narcissism is, right? So let me see. I'm going to read a couple of y'all comments. I appreciate y'all joining me. Let's look at this. Yes, I agree with you. So he says, Mr. Fahim, it's hard to paint anyone gender with a broad brush. Correct. Every man is different because every situation is different. We already know that. But in general, when we start talking about doing like some statistical things, and also what we allow to be what we amplify, then what it does is it gives this false idea that what you're basically saying that we can paint with a gender brush. And so what I'm saying is that when we look at cheating and the women standing next to the man, which we always seem to see, what is the reason why we don't see it otherwise? Because what we do know is women cheat too. And so I'm going to have a conversation, because we're not. And I agree, we can't paint with a gender brush, but what we can't do either is act like these things don't exist when in fact they do. And so when people need to hear it and, need to, think through it, or maybe even recognize an area or be like, man, I thought I was the only one. That's why more people got to be able to be, open and not have to be persecuted for their behaviors. I know we're going to do it anyway because that's just the world we live in. But I say, hey, this is what it's all about. And then Andre, I think it's something in a relationship that can be worked out both ways. I agree. That's if they want to. And it's a lot of work. And from what I understand, people have all kinds of books and stuff that they do out of that. And I don't know how you decide to do that, if that's what you want to do and market off of it. I mean, that's your conscience, and we got to learn to live with that. But ultimately, this is a different time. Back before the internet, the VHS tapes and all that, you can get away with kind of let your dirt settle. Somebody gonna bring it up or recirculate that. It's gonna be from 2016, and you're gonna pop it right back up on the internet again. It's so much more difficult, but it's not impossible. All right. Y'all, I appreciate y'all joining me today. I really wanted to work through that. I do want to tell you to please go to my website. My book will be coming out soon. And so a lot of y'all have asked me about my book. And let me tell you, it's been my baby. And it is not, in any way a lot of feel like it's open. Like there's things in there from my transcript. Like I'm giving it to you. And I think it's important that, I kind of share that with people, and I have a website where we will be adding people to be able to get the information first about my book up until it actually comes out. So go to marissaalexander.com, click on that link, join the news group or the group where I will be sending email group, and we will do it. And I'm not the person who's going to be flooding you with a whole lot of emails, but when we send you stuff, we will be giving it to you exclusively. So y'all keep me in your prayers. I'm going to pray for y'all. I appreciate y'all joining me. Peace out.